Happy Friday, everyone. Let's start off with that. So today, I did plan on covering Bluebeam Digital ePlan for Government. Now, I'm going to have my webcam on just for a couple minutes, just for the introductions, things like that. And then I'm going to go ahead and turn it off to get into the presentation. So for today's agenda, my plan was to tell you a little bit about us as Topcon Solutions, why Bluebeam Revu. We'll talk about a case study from the state of North Carolina and how they used Bluebeam Revu to improve their digital review process. We're actually going to get into Bluebeam Revu, so I'm going to demo a few of my top features from Bluebeam Revu. And I wanted to give everyone on here 4 tips, so some tips and tricks for going digital. So about us, Topcon Solutions is the retail arm of Topcon Positioning Systems, the world leader in construction layout, machine automation, and land surveying products. Now, along with selling the complete portfolio of Topcon products, Topcon Solutions is a platinum tier award-winning Autodesk partner and certified training center. And we also have Bluebeam. We are also a Bluebeam partner and have Bluebeam certified instructors and certified consultants on staff. Now, in saying that, we are also located in, we have 13 brick and mortar locations, and we're located in 20 states, including Washington, D.C. So as you guys see, I'm your presenter. Hello, I am David Campbell, an application specialist for the Topcon Solutions store. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my webcam off here. And we're going to get into the learning objectives for today's webinar. So in this webinar, I'm going to demonstrate some features and workflows for project plan review. We can discuss how paperless workflows will save you time and money. And then, of course, those tips and tricks, we're going to outline some best practices for going digital. So starting out here, a little bit about Bluebeam. So more than 1.6 million customers in more than 130 countries trust Bluebeam solutions to work smarter. Their collaborative platform, Bluebeam Studio, has hosted over 27 billion, yes, that's a billion with a B, interactions since they launched it in 2010. Bluebeam supports 30 international user groups and industry organizations pursuing standards and advancing AEC technology concepts worldwide. State of North Carolina, okay? This is a case study from Bluebeam, and it's a digital permit workflow overview from a city of North Carolina. Now, since adopting Revu for ePlan review, the state of North Carolina has seen a 39% increase in productivity. Why? So what was their biggest motivation? What caused them to really get into Bluebeam Revu? Well, I think most of us on here can guess that it would be time and money. Time and money were actually the biggest challenges and the reason why the state of North Carolina created a new digital plan review process. Reviews took longer to process because they were reviewing plans one discipline at a time. Time and money are resources that are always at an agency's top concern. So what did they do? How did they get to increase their productivity? The town of Cary, North Carolina invited the state and walked them through their whole process on how they use Bluebeam Revu. North Carolina had a pool of key designers that had a project in the works with the state and were willing to be a part of the pilot with them. Next, they started a committee. So they started a committee that made up of different disciplines from the state of North Carolina office and made them subject matter experts. I forgot to click on that one. But they made them subject matter experts. This step was crucial in increasing adoption for all departments as it took away the scariness of a new incoming process. Now, who likes to change? This took them another 4 months to establish the direction they wanted to go for electronic permit reviews. Then it took them an additional 3 to 4 months to start onboarding 25 to 30 people from the entire state office. The state of North Carolina instead decided to take a just-in-time training approach. The methodology of this approach is to only train a user on just the tools and features that they need to know and avoid training fatigue. Now, how many of us can walk into a training and recall everything? If you do, then I'm definitely envious. The majority of us, myself included, go through a cycle of emotions initially, and then we forget what we learned. So we go back to our notes, our colleagues and managers for a refresher. They decided to break the training into small groups between 3 to 6 people. They hosted lunch and learns and showed them the idea of markups, the internal review process, and the corrections back to the designer. What this created was a community of knowledge sharing, and because review is easy to learn, it really helped organically increase the excitement of learning and teaching others their aha moments. So what did they use? And of course, that's what we're talking about today. It's Bluebeam Revu. Bluebeam Revu's customizable industry-specific markup tools reduce the time spent reviewing and commenting on a plan set. The tool chest decreases risk by improving the standardization and communication accuracy, and the markups list reduces rework by tracking accountability and increasing clarity and intent. Real-time collaboration reduces response time. It allows them to complete permanent reviews with other departments faster, and it reduces printing. And it's also going to allow access to all plan reviewers at the same time. So the moment you guys have all been waiting for, we're gonna get into Bluebeam Revu. So one of the first things I wanted to talk about today, and yes, I am going to demo them, but that would be the customizable markup tools. So these tools allow us to digitally review drawings with specialized tools such as clouds, and then customize those properties of that cloud to fit your needs. Now, what does this give us? It gives us a reduced time spent reviewing and commenting on your documents. So I'm going to kind of show this, put it to work here. So maybe I need another handicap spot. I've counted these and I actually need another handicap section. There's a couple different ways I can do this. One, I can go ahead and maybe just use a cloud. Okay. And in this cloud, now I can't type any text with the actual cloud markup, but if you need text, there's a lot of other markups that we can utilize here, the text box, the note, call out, a lot of different awesome tools. But if I wanted someone to get the idea that we need a handicap spot here, one thing I could do is come over into my properties. I could make this handicap accessible. And stall, there we go. I could not think of that word for some reason. But you'll see the information here that I apply with this, and maybe let's make it a different color here. If I go down into my markups list, which we're going to get into this one a little bit more later, you're going to see the information for that markup here. Okay, so again, we're going to get back into this one here in a minute, but we can quickly add these markups, such as this cloud or a call out. Okay, and one big thing I did want to mention before I push past this, tools markup, I'm gonna go back to call out, you'll see it's snapping right to the content of the PDF itself. So this is a big point. Again, I will be getting deeper in with this one a little bit later, but there are many different types of comments that we can place with this. Again, we have our call outs here. Okay. We can call anything out that we need. We can adjust the properties. We can also, if you'll notice, if I go tools markup, down below I have image. So I can actually bring images in from a file or from a camera. So if I have any device like a tablet, anything like that, I can take out in the field and actually take pictures with, I can attach them to the document themselves. So if I go from camera, there's my nice mug there. Use it, put it right there on the drawing. Look at that, okay? So we can take pictures right there in real time, or again, we can also bring these in. Go tools, markup, image from file. And this is where I can bring in any images that I may have, again, stored on my local device. Now, I would recommend, this is one of those kind of tips too, when you guys go to place a image, click once and then hit escape. I'm saying this because some of your images are going to take a minute, or not an actual minute, but take a little bit of time to populate on the page. And also some of them can come out rather large. So if you click and you just keep clicking, you're going to realize that it has kept placing those images. So it's going to place a bunch of them in there at one time. Now, you'll notice I placed this image off to the side. If I actually wanted to place any image on a markup itself, I can do that by right-clicking on that markup and then finding capture. And you'll notice the image options here are the same, from camera or from file. So if I do from file, just as an example here, you're gonna see that little image sign pop up there. If I click on that, it gives me instant access to that image, okay? It's not the same as having an image out here in the PDF content. You're actually storing it in with the content of the markup that you place, okay? Now, we can do a lot of different things as well with these markups. You're gonna see something like these shape markups here. And you know what, I'm gonna take this one and I'm going to move it up here. Let's say I wanna make this a hatch pattern. I'm gonna give it a diagonal down. So you'll see we can apply a bunch of different properties here to our markups and maybe give them hatch patterns. And you'll notice we have a whole list of them here, but you'll also notice if I click manage, this is where I can also go in and bring in any existing or create a new hatch pattern to utilize in my plans, okay? Again, if I wanted to place another tool, grab this Cloud Plus. So I use the Cloud at first, and I like saving this Cloud Plus here for a little bit later, just because, let's say I want to do this area here. The Cloud Plus gives me the capability to actually add a text note with the revision cloud. Okay, I'll just say that's landscaping mulch. Right click, and here's another tip for you guys out there, auto size text box. If you right click on any text that you may have, you'll find auto size text box, and that's going to take the text box to right where you need it to be. Now you'll notice mine also doesn't have a rectangle around it here. It's because my line width is not set to 1. And there we go. So I can quickly add any of these markups here. I can instantly change around their parameters, giving them a little bit of smart data here. So with this subject, I can go landscaping. And we know that, again, this is going to be a landscaping focused comment, okay? There's a lot of different data that we can put in there. It's not just landscaping. This could be per department. This could be per workflow, review process, and anything really that you might need to identify these specific types of comments, okay? Another one I would want to say here is that you can put in a lot of information with these comments, not just in the comment section itself here, but adding this subject. And then when we get into the markups list later, I'm going to talk about some of these columns to push information into them as well. Now, there's one more that I want to talk about before I push on, and that is going to be the stamps. So if we needed to stamp any drawing, so maybe I want to approve this stamp or this drawing here, I can go ahead and choose my approval stamp, which will populate with my name, and it's been also populated with a date time stamp. Okay, so if I look down below, you're also going to see that stamp here by me. Now this XY just tells you where it is on the page, but I'll get more into that markups list here again in a little bit. But we can stamp these, and then if you see here that you do not have a stamp you'd like to use, you can always scroll down and find create stamp and just make your own, or import a stamp from anyone who has made a awesome stamp for your company to use. You can go ahead, have them export it and import it in to use. All right, so up next, the tool chest. So the tool chest allows us to save commonly used markups to tool sets for easy reuse and deploy them across projects and teams. Now, what does this do for us? It actually decreases the risk by improving standardization and communication accuracy. So, as I was saying before, if we place smart properties with these markups, such as this landscaping comment here, let's say I wanted to keep this, because every time I go back up to tools, I go to markup. If I go Cloud Plus again, you'll notice it defaults right back to Cloud Plus. All of the tools here are going to do that. It's really when you get into your tool chest here that you'll see that tools can retain information, such as these architect reviews. You'll notice that each one of them has an architect subject, okay? And if I say I want to actually count my stalls down here. Okay, so again, I've used that tool. If I look down on my markups list, it tracks them with the architects. So in saying that, let's say I want to keep my landscaping mulch tool here, or just landscaping in general. I can go ahead, right click on that comment and find Add to Tool Chest. This allows me to place it into any existing tool set that I have. Now, again, if we are in the process of creating our own tool sets, what you want to do is go to Tool Chest and then Manage Tool Sets. At this point, you can then add I'm going to put this right on my desktop. So what I'm doing right now is adding a webinar tool set. I hit save. I find it down here at the bottom. I'll go ahead and move this up. There it is. And here we go. At this point, if I wanted to add my landscaping tool into my webinar tool set, again, I would right click on that, add to tool chest, and put it into the webinar tool set. So there it is. Now you will notice that when we first click on that and we go to place that comment, you will notice that it tries to retain the exact same size and shape information as the first one that you made. But what you need to do is just double click on it inside of this tool chest here. And there you'll notice it switches and gives me the capability to go ahead and place a new comment. But again, it retains the information. So if I click off of it, I'm going to click on it again. There it is. It retains that information. So it's always going to keep the landscaping or the department or whatever information that you associate with that markup. Now, what does that do? If we can, let's say, make department specific or discipline or workflow specific tools, we can then standardize those into tool sets that we use throughout our organization, right? And in that sense, when I go down to my markups list, and let's say I'm doing this review process, I may need to change some columns around here to see what I exactly get a better idea of what I want. But again, it gives me an easy way to kind of sort and filter through these comments to find the ones that are pertinent to me. And when I go to print my reports, they're going to look a little bit more professional because it's not saying Cloud Plus, rectangle, polyline, anything like that. It's saying what this comment is and what its purpose is, right? What it's referencing. I do want to show another one real quick. Let's say you wanted to use a symbol such as any sign here from our signage legend or any symbol on your sheets or a symbol legend that you may have. You can go ahead under the Edit tab, you'll find Snapshot. This is a great tool for utilizing any data on your documents already. So I don't like wasting a lot of time either. So if I can actually take a symbol such as this handicap symbol, right out of the PDF, right click, go to change colors, maybe make it red. Okay. I can go ahead and utilize this as a tool now. So I right click, add this to my tool chest. and I'm going to place that right in my webinar tool set. So there it is. Now it would be a good idea for me to go ahead and rename that. So when I place it, I want to go ahead and double check on that. Here it is again. Check my properties. It retains that information, okay? Now it could be something as easy as that, or it could be something just like this here. Again, edit, snapshot. I'm just doing this very rudimentary. I would typically get a little bit closer, but that's all right. I'll do change colors. Again, modify my source color. And this time, when I place this in my tool set, you'll notice, actually, I'll do it before I go to, I'll push this under sign. And in the comments section, W11-2, I'll go ahead and name the sign. So by the sign's type. And again, if I retain it, or if I push this into my tool set here, it's going to retain that information. Okay. So again, just an easy way to create these tools or use some of the data to I guess, create your tool set. So using the existing data on the document itself, you can use those to create your own tool sets. And again, we can standardize these tool sets just by exporting them here. Okay, so I'll go ahead and save it. And this is where, again, I can save this on my local drive. I can push this into a shared drive. I can email it, anything like that. And anyone would have the capability to go ahead and utilize that tool set. All right, I've been kind of mentioning this one all morning throughout this webinar so far, but the markups list. The markups list allows you to attach, track, sort, and filter your markup data, and then export that data for additional uses such as reports. Now, this value is really going to, or the value that it gives us is really reducing rework by tracking the accountability and increasing the clarity of intent. So with this, I get back into Bluebeam here, and I'm just going to place a couple more of these contractors. Give me a little bit of variety here in the markups list. Oh, and for anyone curious, I did not talk about this one yet, but you'll see at the bottom of the tool chest, you have a slider bar. The slider bar actually increases and decreases the size of your images or kind of tools, the icons for the tools themselves in that tool chest. All right, so with this markups list, big things here, again, you'll notice if I click on subject, it actually arranges everything in my markups list. It kind of sorts them together, and then it goes in ascending and descending order. This works for any of these columns that you may click on. If I click on comments, it's going to join all like comments together. If I click on subject, it's going to do the same. Now, with this markups list, a lot of this comes from what data do you want to see? And in that, a lot of that comes from our columns. So I know that the XY location on this document is not important to me, but maybe the layer in which this comment was placed on, or the space it's in, or let's say the date, color, and status, okay? Those are some pretty frequent ones I see. So I can go ahead and customize this markups list to exactly how I need to see it. Now, in this sense, this might not match how a lot of your reports need to look. So when I say reports, what I'm thinking of is actually taking this data outside of just Bluebeam Revu. Now, if I wanted to have this in a PDF format that someone can read through and see all of the different comments that I have placed, or in CSV format, so going out to Excel. Now, before I do that, I did want to make one note here. These are not all of the columns that you're limited to. You'll see under markups list and columns, we also have manage columns where we can go ahead and create our own custom columns. So We do have some videos on our website, and Bluebeam has some great videos on these as well on their website. If you guys are curious about what those custom columns can do, what data you can push into your markups, or how you can, I'd say, closely kind of copy what your typical reports need to look like in terms of information that you're tracking. In this case, the subject, the label, comments, things like that, okay? But again, with this markups list, maybe let's say I only want to find the comments that were by about landscaping. Let's do that. So I only want to find the landscaping. What I can do is activate what's called a filter. And then when I activate the filter, you'll notice that symbol is going to populate next to every one of my columns. So in this case, if I have a landscaping, and I've already associated some subjects there with landscaping. So if I click here, it's going to give me only those landscaping comments. You're going to notice that every other comment here is grayed out. So if I wanted to go ahead and take that off and maybe just find the handicap, I could do that as well. So this just allows you to quickly get through and find any specific comments made on the entire document, not just this sheet, the entire document. And if you're in a multi-reviewer or a collaborative kind of process, it's going to allow anyone in this project to find specific comments made throughout the life cycle of this collaboration kind of review. All right. Now, again, let's say I want to go ahead and turn this filter back on, and I'm going to find, I just want and we'll take the landscaping. We'll just take the landscaping for now. All right. So if I was going to take this out into a report, again, I have a couple different options. But before I do that, I wanted to quickly talk about the communication process again. One being, if I click on any of these comments, I could also reply back to any of these comments with a simple right click and reply. Say red mulch, please. And we're going to see that communication stays right here in the markups list. So we can continue communication throughout this process, not by just putting markups on the document itself, but also replying back to the comments in the markups list itself. So just wanted to notate that. And then I'm going to get into the summary portion. So this is where we can go ahead and print our report. So we're going to see CSV as well as PDF. CSV is going to take this report out to Excel for us, and PDF is going to leave it, of course, in a PDF format. Now, I want to show the PDF in a couple different ways. One, when we go to print this report, you're going to see that I have my columns, filter and sort, and output. When I go to columns, you're going to see this is kind of, again, what columns do I have visible in my markups list? And this is also going to attribute to what kind of report or what data do you want to push out of this kind of review process here. So I'm going to leave all of those the same. You'll notice when I click on filter, right now it has no filter on, even though I do have one activated. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my landscaping filter. And then when I go to output, you'll see append and hyperlink to current PDF. This is a big one. If you want your report to be attached to the document itself, then you want to go ahead and make sure you click this button. And this is not only going to do that, it's going to hyperlink any of these comments that were made back to the original location on the PDF. So you know what? I'm going to take that landscaping filter off. We're going to leave it all. Okay. Output here. And then what I'm going to do is hit OK. And here they are. So we'll notice my sequence tools are there. There's one of my call outs for the parking stripe. And again, what you were seeing, it's going to match all of these comments, or these the subjects and the labels, the comments, author, all of our column headers here are going to populate in this report. with the pertinent information. And if I click on, let's say, this call out, you're going to notice it's going to take me right to that call out where it's placed in the document itself. So now I'm back to our sheet. Okay. Now, I did want to show you guys something because this gives me a good opportunity to do it. But if you have any markups with an image attached to it, I did not do a capture media addendum this time, but if you utilize the PDF summary, and if you go into options, you'll see include capture media addendum. So any of these comments that you have with a picture attached to them, they would end up populating at the end of the document. And what it's going to do is give you a bigger overview of those images that you may have attached with that comment. So if you, again, wanted to see them in a bigger scale. All right. Now, one of the last big things here, studio sessions. So studio sessions gives us real-time a single source of collaboration. We can review, markup, modify, and update your PDFs in real time, or really any time, with project partners worldwide. You don't have to have a constant signal connection. If you have, let's say, you're going to go out to the field, you know you don't have any Wi-Fi out there, or you're driving around and you just don't trust to keep Wi-Fi all day, you can go ahead and open those documents that you want to review or go through for the day, go offline, and you can still go through, place comments, do your measurements, anything like that, right from the document. Now, this gives us the capability to reduce response times and complete projects faster by working in real time with your project partners. Also allows us to reduce printing, shipping, and rework costs by giving everyone access to the same set of documents. So I'm going to get into this as well. Let me close out of this. I'm going to get into my Studio tab here. And Studio Sessions, what you're going to notice is when you get into Studio, you have two little boxes up top, Projects and Sessions. So for today, we're going to be talking about Sessions. When you get into your sessions, some of you may see just a blank screen here, and that's fine. You may not be involved in any sessions currently. For me, I have a few different ones going on. And at this time, I'm going to show you guys how to just enter into a session, what it looks like. And then I'm going to show you guys how to create a new session, inviting people to a session, different things like that. So I'm going to go into my webinar session here. And I left up this document a little purposely here. But what you'll notice when you get into your session is it gives you a list of your attendees, the list of your documents, and a little record down below. So I'm going to get more into this record here in a second. But what I wanted to say is sometimes you'll notice that if you have a document that maybe you started with locally, you created a session from that document or included it into that session, there can be some confusion here because it looks like I'm working in construction set B, and I could be down here as well, but I'm not in the session document here. I know this because when I click on construction set B, any session document or any studio document that you're working on is going to have a symbol in the upper left-hand corner. This one, of course, matches our session symbol. That's how you know that you're active in that session. Okay. Now we're going to be able to navigate through this document set. Let's say we have established hyperlinks already, so I can go ahead and click on any of those hyperlinks and navigate through my set. Another great thing to standardize, by the way. But I can navigate through the set. I can place comments, all that kind of stuff in real time. And again, if I invite anyone else to this session, if they're in the session at the same time I am, I'm going to be able to see their comments populate in real time. Now, I don't have anyone online with me right now, but I can go ahead and track all of Vinny's comments here through my record and through the markups list. So you're going to see we still have the markups list for the studio session. So that's another beautiful thing, but we're also gonna have a full record. Now this record actually tracks all of the activity in the session and saying that anyone that comes in, anyone that goes out, what markups they place, where, what documents they've opened, it's all tracked right here in this record, okay? You'll also notice if I click on any of these, they are hyperlinked to the location of the comment in real time, okay? So another big thing I really want, I quit to talk is, let's say I have my note down here, and with my note, with any of my comments specifically, you're going to see that I have a, let's go with group markup here, yellow markers, okay? So I have yellow markers around any comments that I place. If I click on something that Vinny placed here, you'll notice I have grayed out. That's set up for accountability. I cannot change anyone else's markups. Once they are there, they're there. They're locked to me, okay? Now I can go ahead again and let's say I want to use it from my tool chest here. I'm going to place a count tool on some of these signs. Again, here are my comments. They're now going to be tracked in the record. Let me scroll down to the bottom here. There's my signs and in the markups list itself. Okay. So all of that activity again is tracked. So another thing I want to say is when you go to invite anyone into a studio session, note that we can do it a couple different ways. One, if it's existing, as long as you have the permission to do it, you can go ahead and invite anyone that you need to either here by just typing in the individual's email address, or you can copy the invitation into your default email application. Okay, so you copy that over and send that invitation out. Another way to do this is once you guys get established in sessions and projects, you can create groups. So I have a Topcon group, a DC consultant, consultant 1, consultant 2, and I have groups of people who are together under that name. So when I send out the invitation, it just sends it out to all of those people involved with that group. Very nice process. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this session really quick. But before I do, actually, I wanted to talk about this. You can print a report from this markups list at any point in time. So I can go to CSV, I can go to PDF, or if you want to take this record report here, you're going to see this little button. Looks kind of like the markups list symbol here. If I click this, it allows me to take a record summary. So again, just anything that's happened during that session. And here it is, okay? Now, I will say that that record is going to be printed off at the end of your session. So when you choose to finish this session, which I'm not going to do this yet because I want to keep using this. If you guys finish this session, that's it. It's kaputski. It's gone. So I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel, okay? But again, I can leave this at any point in time, step away, and go into another session or create a new session. Now, before I do this, I do want to notate again, there are a couple different ways to access an existing or even create a session. If you're accessing an existing, either you already have the information, you may get a emailed invitation, you can click on that link, it's going to open right up inside a review for you. Or if someone gives you the studio ID number, which you guys can see here, they're all 9-digit ID numbers that are personal to each studio project or session that you have. Okay, so if we give someone that 9-digit number, they can click add, and if you type or hit join here, it'll allow you to type in that studio ID number. For this instance, I'm going to just go ahead and hit new session, and then I can name this and add my open file. Now, this is an interesting thing as well. If you have the documents already open, so kind of like I talked about before, if you're already working on it and I need to push it into a session, I can. Or I can go ahead and click add and pull up any other documents that I may need and place them in there. Now, in a session, you're only going to be able to host 2D or 3D PDFs. Okay, so that is a big thing. You will only be able to host the PDFs there. But here's where you can start specifying the basic permissions of what you want to allow your attendees to do inside of your session. If you want to allow them to save documents, to print, markup, send out markup alerts, add documents. This option here, actually restrict attendees by email address. This is a big one. You guys remember when I clicked this button and I hit join and we type in the 9-digit ID number, if you have this button checked, so restrict attendees by email address, they will not be able to get into it unless they've received an emailed invitation. So this really locks that session down to make sure that you only have access into it if you've been specifically invited into the session. Okay, so I'm going to uncheck that, and now anyone would be able to get in by hitting the join and then entering in my studio ID number. Now, another big thing that I wanted to note here is that when you're inviting people to your studio session, they do not need a paid license of Bluebeam Revu. They do not need a paid license. Anyone who downloads even the free PDF viewer, Bluebeam Revu, will be able to access a studio session and markup in that session. So it is a great feature there. Now, I also want to say that specifically with the state of North Carolina, their IT department put SharePoint in the background of their Interscope program, which is their project environment, where they pull their plan sets into studio sessions. So Bluebeam Revu does have integrations to get your documents from other places. If you're using SharePoint, if you're using something like an Interscope program, anything like that, as long as they're in PDF, you can pull those documents out, put them into Bluebeam Revu for a digital review process, and then push them back in when you're done. So this is where I'd go ahead, enter in somebody's email address, and I'll bring Vinny in, say okay, and then okay. So now he's been sent out an emailed invitation. My documents are up and ready to go. Okay, so as I promised you guys, I wanted to give these 4 tips here really quick before we get off. And my first tip here is going to be PDF standards. So standards allow us to really easily identify your drawings by, let's say, naming conventions, finding good data, using the vector file types in order to facilitate the most efficient reviews, creating hyperlink inspection sets so it's easy to navigate a plan set in the field, just different things like that you can use with the PDF itself, just with the PDF. Now, what do I mean when I say PDF standards? I'm talking about a lot of different things. Let's say the metadata that comes over, the hyperlinks, the bookmarks that you can use, any file attachments, images, spaces, maybe even your tools, right? Custom columns, dashboards, your layers, different things that you can standardize within your PDF itself to make the review process down the line easier, but also figuring out what you can templatize, right? If we can templatize anything and keep using it from project to project in these PDFs, it's only going to help us kind of push further faster. Now, I did want to talk about the fact that there is PDF inequality. We know this. If you've ever worked with a rasterized PDF versus a vector PDF, you can see a clear difference of what that means when you zoom in, when you're snapping to the PDF content itself, the fact that we can actually go through and search text, not just in, let's say, specifications or contracts, things like that, but also being able to search through our document sets, our sheet sets for any images and things like that as well. We have clean callouts, the fact that we can do sheet naming from something like the auto marker page label, or the fact that you can carry that over from your design application, your layers and plot layout, and then of course, cross-hatching and fill patterns. Now, with the PDF guidelines, first off, PDF is open source. It's already standardized internationally, and it is similar to paper. A PDF is the digital version of paper. It's really the way in which we will bridge the gap to the model. So I've already given you guys 1 tip, PDF standards, right? I'm going to go ahead and give you the other 3 now. Second, a pilot group. A pilot group will allow you to test and gather your feedback from your subject matter experts from various departments to refine your permit review process and how it needs to look in review. Third is going to be your tool standardization. So I kind of talked about this one earlier. Build a library of your markup tools, your profiles, and your stamps to increase clarity and intent. And if we can make a lot of those smart tools, build those tool sets, send them out, export them out, and allow people to maybe give feedback on what tools we may need to tweak per project, things like that. And it's only going to allow us to, again, keep moving faster, further, faster. And finally, the naming conventions. The naming conventions of your documents really allow you to reduce the time spent looking for your plan sets. So in a studio session, maybe you want to go with the permit ID number, the address, the submission number, anything like that. And then in the documents themselves, if you standardize those naming conventions, you can standardize a lot of the, let's say, hyperlinks, bookmarks, things like that, that might, again, make navigating through those documents a lot easier. The government Bluebeam user group, GovBug. So I cannot honestly preach about this one enough. User groups are huge, and Bluebeam user groups are great. GovBug provides a knowledge sharing platform for government review users to connect, learn, and share best practices with like-minded peers. If you're interested in joining GovBug, you can email communities@bluebeam.com, and they do have a studio project set up under their resources there. You will get access to GovBug Studio Project, where they do have some previous meetings recorded. They have a reference roster there, some PDF guidelines, and they do quarterly virtual meetings with a presentation provided by an industry peer. So as I said, I will always preach and kind of push the user groups. They're a great resource. Look out for Review 2020 next month. Bluebeam will be releasing Review 2020, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. And anybody, you know, at the beginning there, we did show our website where you can go and download a free trial of Bluebeam Revu. But in case you missed it, or because you want to see it again, we have it up right here. So topconsolutions.com/Bluebeam Revu. Okay, so you can go to that address there and download a free 30-day trial of Bluebeam Revu. Oh, and also be sure to keep an eye out on our social media channels, as we will be sharing updates on the release date for 2020. So as we get closer to it, you'll know. All right. Now, if you're looking for ways to make your digital transformation easier and faster, you can rely on our professional services team for full implementation and training assistance. We've supported many municipalities in establishing best practice processes for plan review, helping to navigate the challenges of technology adoption across multiple departments, shorten permit review timelines, and save money on paper and its associated costs. Whether you are new to Bluebeam Revu or you've been using it for years, we have the right offering to help you to deliver a best-in-class service for your citizens and community. If you'd like more info on our services, you can email topconsolutions.com or respond to the survey that you will receive after this webinar. And finally, thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for kind of letting me talk about Bluebeam and its awesomeness this morning. And does anybody have any questions for us?
Okay, so there appear to be no further questions at this time. Like David said, thank you so much for joining us today. We sincerely hope that you will come and join us again for any of our future upcoming webinars, which you can actually check out on our website as well. There is a You're Invited tab, and you can reference any of our upcoming webinars. Any information for those webinars is posted there. So thank you again, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your Friday.